Hey everybody, it's Daryl with DMD Realty. Welcome to part 5 of the home buying process. So during the first 4 of this series, we talked about finding a great agent, a lender, about setting a budget and keeping to it, about what the ideal type of property is should be considering for your first home, and then on the 4th one, we talked about structural issues to be aware of. Now, one thing I failed to mention in the last one, when we're walking around looking at the property, we also want to look for water spots in the ceiling to see previous water damage or water damage on the walls and on the interior. Also, want to look at the condition of the hot water heater if we can see it, if it's not in the attic, and the HVAC compressor unit outside. So now I want to talk about what does making an offer look like? What's that involved? So what you need to know when you make an offer, there's no money involved in making an offer. You and your agent sit down. Your agent will pull comparable sales of homes in the neighborhood that are similar to what you're looking at to come up with the ideal offer. We're going to talk about different aspects of how to put together an offer in a buyer's market versus a seller's market. Right now in 2021, we're in a strong seller's market. But basically, what you're going to need, you need to know what kind of monies you're going to need up front. When your offer does get accepted, and it may take 2 or 3 times going back and forth with the seller, you make an offer, you'll answer specific things. There's things such as a service contract, which is basically kind of a warranty. Usually for about 13 months, it'll cover your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. Most buyers agents try and get it for their buyers, and depending on the market, you may or may not be able to get it. You may have to purchase a survey. In a strong seller's market, the seller's not going to pay for a survey, which basically is a blue line drawing of the outline of where the house sits on the lot and the property boundaries, where utility easements are, things such as that. And that's a few $100s, depending on the size of the lot. The average lot in Dallas, a little over $400 for that. But that's something that comes after. What you need to know, the money you need to have up front. There's an option fee. What's that for? The option fee is what you give currently to the seller, but that's going to change with the new contract. It's going to be going to the title company. That takes the property off the market, usually somewhere between 7 and 10 days. It's always negotiable, and it could be a couple $100, $300, $400 to take that off. And that lets you do your due diligence. What do I mean by that? You get your inspections done, and during this time too, I mentioned getting a great insurance agent in one of the other videos, and you can have them run what's called a clue report, just to make sure there's no flood damage or things like that. The seller may have forgotten about something. Like, I know if somebody asked me when I replaced my hot water heater, I have no idea. Or if there was a leak, when was it? When did it occur? When did it get fixed? Like, we all have plumbing leaks that occur, and if somebody asks me when did it get done, not a clue. A few years ago is all I would know. But the clue report will find out if there's been any claims that have been made and maybe not paid for. It's usually filled out on the seller's disclosure, and sellers make mistakes or forget. They're not trying to hide anything typically, so that's just something to be aware of. The option fee is not refundable if you don't move forward with the transaction, so that's something to keep in mind. And then there's earnest money, and that's usually around 1% of the purchase price. So we'll just pick an average price home in Dallas Fort Worth, $300. Actually getting to be on the low end now, so about $3,000 for earnest money. And that is refundable if you back out within specified times of the contract. And that's something we'll talk about in another video as well. So the next cost to be prepared for is the inspection. And the inspection's going to range anywhere, it depends on the square footage of the home. If you have a pool, and then I always suggest that you get a wood destroying insect report. What's that? They're looking for termites, carpenter ants, things like that, to see if there's anything active or if there's been previous repairs. We can always ask if they have any warranty or documentation on it. Sometimes there's warranties on termite repair or treatment for a certain amount of time. And that termite, the WDI, it ranges 50 on the cheap end, probably 150 on the high end. And an average on the inspection, just prepare for about $400. Now that money is money well spent. If you're about to spend $300,000, that will be the cheapest $400 you ever spent to get an idea of what you're looking at. Now, seller's not required to make any repairs. Just keep that in mind. But that's why you have the option period. You can decide with your agent, hey, is this major enough to back out? Can we get a concession on sales price? Can we get the seller to make the repairs? And if it's HVAC, that's going to be a major thing. Foundation issues, that's another thing. If you wind up finding structural movements, you probably want to hire, well, hopefully work's been done. If not, that's a decision you make whether or not to move forward with the transaction. Foundation repairs can be expensive, but foundation issue won't kill you. What causes the most damage are plumbing and electrical issues. Electrical problems can cause the house to burn, so those things are very important. Not that the foundation's not, because it absolutely is. But so now that you're through the inspection, you decide whether or not you want to move ahead. If you do, you and your agent will put an amendment together, send it over to the seller, go back and forth. If they decide to move ahead with all the repairs, great. Get that sometimes you don't. But decide what's important to you. If there's little things that a handyman can fix. Plumbing issues, definitely try and get that fixed. Electrical issues, try and get that fixed. Roofing for sure. HVAC. If it's wood rot, maybe a lender required repair, and that's something that the seller will have to fix. If they decide they don't want to, there's something called an escrow holdback that can occur, but that's another discussion for another day. But there's lots of options there. And now once you're through all that, the next stop is appraisal. And that will be money out of your pocket as well. That's somewhere between $450 to $500 or so, maybe a little more than that. One of my lenders can tell you. But I just want to go over some of the costs that you're going to look at. And the appraisal basically is the bank going out, making measurements, taking pictures, comparing it to other properties that are on the market, under contract, or that have sold, to make sure that it meets the value.